Ethan Evans here has an interesting post as VP of Prime Gaming at Amazon, how he failed to take down Steam. Because he's wrong why they failed. He didn't actually learn the right lesson. He kind of got some of it. But as somebody who can talk about this in detail, and none of it under NDA, and I'll explain why that makes a difference in a bit. Yeah, it's crazy because they just took so many missteps. And I happen to be very close to a lot of this. All right, so let's break down his thing, and then I'll get to the end of what my real reason I think why is, and why I can talk about so much of this in detail and with full knowledge because I've talked with people about this. So, okay, so first, he's right. 15 years ago, they wanted to start fighting Steam. They were going to take on Steam, and one of their ways of taking on Steam was they just had this little downloader, just like you could download it from their game. Besides, like buying the physical copies and everything, you could just download it. It was weird. There's no store to it, so there's no attachment to anything. And with this, they had the discount guy. Remember the discount guy? You'd go and look in, I think he went in Reddit, and they'd be like, oh, what game do you want me to discount? And he'd just discount it for you. It was like their way of trying to be interactive and stuff. That guy kind of operated outside of other people's stuff. Wasn't quite a part of this, but that was actually kind of helpful and worked, right? So then they tried to buy a store, to have a storefront, a Reflexive Entertainment. You don't remember it. I don't remember it. Nobody remembers it. Then after buying Twitch, so at Twitch they had the same problem that Discord had when they started their store, which by the way I knew before it was launched because I talked to developers. So all of these stores, in fact, I can't think of a major store that launched that I didn't know about its launching before it launched. Not because I worked at Valve and I'm some secret big guy, but because they knew I knew a bunch of indie devs. And my rule always was Steam will be fine. Let's help the indie devs however we can. Sometimes it means taking money from a storefront that's just starting up, because they'll give you stupid amount of money. But okay, so Twitch has the same problem that Discord has. And that is your path to using those apps does not go through purchasing. It just doesn't. It's just not a part of it. Especially Discord's really weird. Like, you don't start Discord on a homepage. You start Discord in a Discord. And so your path to buying something on there is just really bad. So it's just wrong, right? And so then they built Luna. Excuse me, Amazon built Luna, right? And if you've never heard of Luna, don't worry. As somebody who knew about Luna, tried to talk to them about Luna, and couldn't. I'll get to that whole thing in a minute. Nobody knows about Luna. It was their Stadia competitor. But Stadia, by the way, I was a consultant for Stadia I did one meeting. Got a big paycheck for that. Supposed to be more meetings. They went under right after that, but still had to honor that contract. So I don't think I maybe said ND in there. I don't care. I got the money. Take that, Google. All right. So then he goes on that they misunderstood how people use Steam. And he's right on that. And that is a social hub as much as it's anything, right? It's a library, trophy case, all in one. It worked really well. And he's right on that. And it's really hard to dislodge it. And I would say that's the problem where Epic struggles is you walk into their store and it feels like you're going into a museum. You don't have a lot of the user presence there. Now, we can mock the user presence. We can hate the user presence often. And because there is some unhinged negative reviews of my game that I don't appreciate, but also I don't really ever counter them or say anything because who cares, whatever. But it makes the whole site feel alive in the comment section and everything, right? Because if you remember, we used to just have a V bulletin over at Steam, and then we changed over, right? Like all of that was always to maintain that there was a presence of users on that site. In fact, I got in a huge argument when we got the default game page, the community hub. I wanted that to be able to have the store owner have control over that of what can bubble up, because I'm like, if we do this right, people can just replace their websites with this. They can just link to this. But I lost the argument that the store owner should be able to have any control over that, and so nobody uses it. And I guess you can go there, but it does not have the prominence that I was hoping it would have and solve the problem. And in fact, if you remember at one point in Left 4 Dead, we actually had part of the community hub appeared on the Left 4 Dead webpage. It was me pushing for that again to try to get that surfaced. And somebody very nicely, one of the engineers did that work for me, and they're a lovely human being, but it did not. Josh from Portal 2 did that. And we were both like, this is a good idea, but we don't have support and this will never take off. All right. So so this guy just goes on that they underestimated just buyer. Sorry, there's an alarm. He says they underestimated buyer habits, and they did. They needed something dramatically better. They did. But what they needed to do was bring that community on and work with developers to do that. They ignored the developer part, right? They started Amazon Game Studio and was going to make games, and then the first game didn't launch on the platform. It launched on... If ever you work at a place and a game fails and the response is, it's okay, it had other goals, run. Because I confronted them about their first game, because I'm friends with people who ran that. And I'm like, your game failed. Why did you release something this bad? And they're like, oh, it had other goals. It don't make a difference, man. It failed, right? But they just never interacted with developers. I posted this on Blue Sky, and a whole bunch of other developers like, yeah, I tried. Like, so Luna, I searched down. I didn't make them email me. I'm like, I found contacts there. I emailed them. I'm like, we're both going to be at GDC. I will buy you lunch. Let's go. Hey, I am also doing this thing for Google. Like, let's go. I can give you a bunch of information. I want you to succeed. I want you to be able to work with developers. Never once a response. Never once. Oh, occasionally like 6 months later, hey, sorry I dropped the ball on this. We should get together sometime. And then never. Never once did anybody own that. Never once did any of the business people have any stake or feeling that they were in your corner or that they gave a shit about what they were doing. And that's what's different. Because on Steam, you can say it's hard to get a hold of a business person because there's so many companies making games compared to how many business people there are. But those people actually care about the stuff. And when you send emails, if it is something that is going to generate a conversation, even if they don't respond to you, they are having that conversation and they are passionate and there's arguments and there's positions and there's a care about making sure that those developers go forward and do well. Now, they get to be first mover, so they get a whole bunch of advantage of not having to pick winners, and other people had to pick winners. And so you see that like with Epic Game Store purchasing games and putting it on there for free and all of that. Like it's a whole other beast to try to solve after the fact. And that's what Amazon was going through, but they didn't even have that fundamental base thing of working with developers and understanding that the products that they sell on the platform, if those developers are friends and happy and love the platform, they will help promote the platform for you, right? Epic has the same problem. No. Everyone puts their game up on there begrudgingly, not because they want to. And that's a big problem, right? And it was just like, seriously, I could get the tiniest developer and I could go reach out to Xbox and be like, hey, you should meet this person. And instantly I'm going to get 5 emails of like, yes, introduce them to me. Because those people care about it. You can talk about whatever the big strategy Phil has, but those people care about it. Same with Sony. Instantly, they're like, hey, I set up a GDC thing for it. Right? You know, even like people want to bag on Jeff Keighley, but anytime I do an introduction to Jeff Keighley to somebody, instantly Jeff's like, hey, when can we get together? Here's my schedule. Let's go. Because those people actually care about games. But Amazon never did. Amazon just looked at it like a product like shoes and thought they're going to sell them like shoes and not understand the passion and love that people had for this, including the people who made it. It would have been interesting to have another big storefront. I don't think Amazon was ever going to be the right choice. I don't use Amazon Prime now. I don't use Amazon for as little as I can. All right, I don't use it very much. I use it for as little as I can. I think Twitch is my last holdout. On Audible, I think. That's because they're everywhere. But even then, I Twitch begrudgingly use, and Audible, I try to use Libro FM when possible. So, yeah. But yeah, they dropped the ball, and they just really don't understand how they just never responded to a single developer, ever. It was bizarre. And Luna's a bad name.